We want a more feminized version of men.
Welcome to another episode. To our regular viewers, thank you for the support. We really appreciate. To our new viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe. Our target is only 1,000 likes. So come on guys, let's like the video. So Jason Whitlock appeared to accuse Stephen A. Smith of lying in his memoir, Straight Shooter, which came out last year. Whitlock appeared to suggest that Stephen A. Smith penned falsehoods in his memoir. He then used Katt Williams' recent appearance on Shannon Sharpe's Club Sheshe podcast as fuel to call him an industry plant. What he actually did is he wrote a column shortly after the Williams interview dropped. The column was titled, "Does Katt Williams' interview expose Stephen A. Smith as a fraud?" Whitlock directly accused Stephen A. Smith of making up some of the stories in his book, including one about how he got a basketball scholarship to Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina. So that we're all on the same page, let's listen to Jason Whitlock. And as you continue watching, please don't hesitate to share your take on the whole story, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.
If the regime decides like, hey, we're tired of the patriarchy, we're tired of masculine men, we want a more feminized version of men. Well, how do you feminize men? How do you get them to accept going against their natural instincts? How do you get them to normalize tapping into their emotions constantly like a woman? How do you get them to abandon reason and logic and see manliness and masculinity as a willingness to publicly display their feminine emotion at any time? So you take someone like Stephen A. Smith, an actor, an exaggerator, perhaps a pathological liar, and you establish him as the voice and the face of the sports media. And everybody gets to watch and say, well, hold on, look at this guy. He could barely write. He doesn't know sports. He'll go on TV and say, hey, they should kick a field goal on third down just in case they miss it. They can re-kick it on fourth down. He'll go on TV and say, hey, tonight's game, this tight end for the Chargers is going to be critical for tonight's game against the Chiefs, even though that tight end plays for another NFL team. He'll go on TV and accuse BYU students of being racist because someone's auntie said over Twitter that my niece had racial slurs yelled at her by BYU students. See, that's not a journalist that would do that. That would go on TV and tell that Duke volleyball story of, I think the woman's name was Rachel Richardson or whatever. A journalist would never say, well, her auntie said it happened on Twitter, so therefore it happened. I'm going to take that to national TV and I'm going to demonize BYU. A journalist wouldn't do that. A journalist said, I need more proof, evidence before I'm ever just going to go out here and smear a university, a student body, or any kid. But ESPN has installed him as the face of sports journalism. And there are no journalistic rules or standards applied to Stephen A. Smith, and everybody can see it. And so everybody falls in line and says, well, how does Stephen A. Stephen A.'s job is to be a Negro wrangler and to herd athletes and other black men in the direction the regime wants them to go. And so that's why this whole athletic career thing is important. And this is why Stephen A. runs around promoting the myth that he was some sort of high caliber athlete. And there's just very little evidence of Stephen A. being any type of athlete at any point in his life. Anybody that's seen him throw out the first pitch at a Yankees game or whatever, like, whoa, this dude says he was an athlete? And so this whole selling of Stephen A. Smith, he played basketball at Winston-Salem State, and he got a full ride basketball scholarship to Winston-Salem State. And you read the book and you just go, well, hold on, man. You're saying that you were only on your high school basketball team for a month or two as a senior. You got cut from the team your junior year, and you tell some farcical story about a tryout day in high school, and you got put on varsity on the spot because you in some one-on-one game you beat up Franklin Smith. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I just want to show you Stephen A. Smith in his own words trying to keep his story straight as it relates to his alleged basketball career at Winston-Salem State. In, I believe, November of 2022, Malika Andrews, Jalen Rose, and J.J. Redick were on ESPN. And Malika Andrews and Jalen and the producers at ESPN were having a little fun with Stephen A. Smith. And they put together a graphic of everybody's basketball average, their stats, their senior year. There's Jalen Rose averaging 17, 18 points a game. There's J.J. Redick averaging 24, 25 points a game. And then they show Stephen A. Smith averaging 1.5 points a game. Watch the clip, and then let me explain to you what you're actually watching.
We're coming off college hoops, guys.
Yeah.
So I do want to show you all a little something. I got a little something to show you here. Before we dig into the NBA, take a look at this blind resume here. It's 3 players, their scoring average in each person's final college season. Do we have any guesses who this might be? Jalen, who do you think? What is this?
Nah, this is hilarious. JJ's on the right.
It's our starting lineup from tonight.
Well, they're not telling us I only played one game because I cracked my kneecap in half, but that's neither here nor there.
That is neither here.
So, and I explained this to you last week, but I'm just reiterating. The man just argued on national TV on ESPN with his stats up there saying he averaged 1.5 points per game. Stephen A. Smith says, what they're not telling you is I only played one game. You can't average 1.5 points in one game. It's impossible. And I'm not a math major, but it's impossible. So that's in November of 2022. Stephen A. trying to explain his basketball career at Winston-Salem State. It's his memoir. It's his story. The man says that in February of 1988, this Katt guy, Harold Katt, works him out and is so impressed in this one-on-one workout that the next weekend he drives Stephen A. from New York to North Carolina to try out for the Winston-Salem State basketball team. These are Stephen A. Smith's words in his own book. In February, on a playground outdoors in New York City, he does a tryout for Harold Katt or somebody, and Harold Katt then drives him the next weekend to Winston-Salem State. So February, or the first weekend in March, he drives to Winston-Salem for a tryout. College basketball teams in February, first week of March, they're still in season. Stephen A. writes in his book that they drive down on a Saturday and that on Sunday morning, he wakes up and then goes over to a basketball scrimmage that the team is having. And Big House Gaines, he shows up late. The scrimmage is going on. And Big House Gaines checks him in and he hits 17 straight shots. Just think it through for those of you that know anything about sports. A college basketball team is wrapping up its season in February and the first week of March. They're playing games on Saturday. But on Sunday, they're holding a scrimmage that Stephen A. Smith shows up in the middle of, gets checked into the scrimmage, knocks down 17 straight three-pointers, and is given a scholarship on the spot to a small Division II historically black college with a tight budget. That's all over Big House Gaines' own book that was released in 2004. That purse strings were tight constantly. And somehow they gave Stephen A. Smith a scholarship on the spot because in one scrimmage on a Sunday, he hit 17 straight three-pointers. It doesn't make sense, not to anybody that knows anything about college athletics. And that's why I'm like, does Stephen A. know anything about college athletics? How does someone who would write this narrative arc, this story, how is someone that shallow, that little understanding of how college athletics even works, how does he become the face of sports media at ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports? Is he there because of his expertise, because of his experience, or is he there because he's willing to lie and exaggerate and tell farcical stories? How? Any NBA player, anybody that's played a lick of college sports, explain how you give that story as how you landed a basketball scholarship.